This month for Feb Regency, the hosts have chosen Belinda by Maria Edgeworth as the book we should all consider reading along, and I believe each of the hosts will give their impression of the book at the month's end. I'm about 20% or so into the book. I only found out about Feb Regency on February 9th, and I started reading the book the next day. It's definitely a book I'm taking slowly, as I tend to do with classics. I can buzz through contemporarily written books pretty quickly, and I prefer that speed for those books. But for the older books with the slightly more dense language, which is perfectly fine and understandable, but to truly get into the book, I just need to slow myself down and just sip and savor. So it's become my mealtime reading. That's where I get most of my reading done, is at like long lunches on days that I'm off from work, or at dinner. So I'll just sit and I'll just read a book. And this book has been interesting to read after following up with reading books I've been reading by Emily Larkin, which I have a very long live stream about on this channel. I've been kind of sipping and savoring her books for the last, 7 or 8 months, and she's been my dinner time and lunchtime reading. So it's interesting to switch gears from her to this, but I found that it felt as comfortable. Maria Edgeworth has a very easy and pleasant writing style that just is easy to get into. There's lots of pithy statements. I'm also someone who, especially when reading a classic book, likes to write down interesting quotes or phrases. Language fascinates me. And within the first couple of chapters, I'm underlining, I'm highlighting, I'm writing down in my little books. There's just lots of keen insights into human behavior, very witty twists of phrase, and I love that. I intentionally have not looked at anybody else's interpretation of this book. This author was brand new to me. This book was brand new to me. And I wanted to treat it as if I were reading it first as it came out in 1801, where nobody knew anything about this book. And so I'm sure my insights won't be in depth, but I've definitely come across, or I've thought about certain things as this first 20% has rolled by. And one of the things that, of course, strikes me in this first 20% is it's really a lot about Belinda, the main character, who is a very young and somewhat naive debutante in her first season at London, and her sponsor, Lady Delacour. These two women are very different, not just in their level of naivete and jadedness, but just their approaches to things. It's Lady Delacour, as you dive into her story, there's two particular chapters in this first 20% where she kind of reveals herself to Belinda. Goodness, the things that this woman will admit to. I have to admit, at some level, I wonder how reliable of a narrator she is, but my goodness, the things she's done. And in fact, that's one of the other things in this first 20% I've noticed, the way that Maria Edgeworth portrays the frivolousness of the rich people in this book, which pretty much I think everybody is for this book, except for the servants. Everybody is. That's why I chose this picture, because there is no good contemporary picture online of what the actual Belinda cover looked like or what the book looked like. And so to me, this depicts the very frivolous nature of the society that Maria Edgeworth depicts in this book. The things that they get into, my goodness, like the young men are constantly betting, making stupid bets. Can you do this? Can you do that? Let's, wager what would be to a middle-class person, or certainly a poor person, a huge amount of money. And they just bet on frivolous things. And they treat each other quite cavalierly. Belinda first gets the blinkers taken off of her eyes, to what society can be like when she is at a masquerade, and she overhears a group of young men disparaging her aunt, who is the one who brought her to London society with her friend, Lady Delacour, belittling the aunt, belittling everybody that this aunt has brought into London society through Lady Delacour. And even then, Belinda hears them belittling her. and she's just like almost like struck dumb, can't move. She has to leave the party because she's just shocked and horrified by what she hears. And I kind of wonder how she will shake out, because she definitely starts off very naive, but the shades come off in various stages, and I wonder how that will pan out later in the book. I also wonder too, because when she comes in, it's very clear she's very dependent, first on her aunt and then on Lady Delacour. Will she become more of her own woman, so to speak, not so dependent upon the ideas and the opinions of others? Because at this point, even in the book, she's very opinion-driven. It appears as though I can't say for certain, that Clarence Hervey is going to be her romantic interest, or at least one of them. I'm not particularly impressed with him as a romantic hero at this point. He seems very fickle. He changes his opinion of Belinda with a look from her, with a wrong word from her, or a right word. He just goes back and forth and back and forth. It's almost like you feel your head whip from side to side. He changes his opinions so quickly. So it'll be interesting to see how he shapes up as a character. I think probably actually the most interesting person so far isn't the title character, isn't Belinda. She's interesting enough, and I think she will probably become more interesting as the book goes along. I mean, theoretically, the author chose her as the title character for a reason, but Lady Delacour, my goodness, this woman has, how do I even describe it? She's so shallow at turns, but she can also be sympathetic. She can, again, kind of like the others in her society, is like very two-faced. So she has one face for the public, one face for private, and she takes things very personally on the one hand, but tries to laugh it off or just pretend things don't matter on the other. Interesting character. So it will probably take me longer than Feb Regency to actually finish this book, but that's fine. It takes what it takes. But so far, I've enjoyed the way that Maria Edgeworth has portrayed these characters. I actually wonder, I mean, was English society back in that time, was it actually as shallow as she shows it? I mean, I don't actually know, of course. I wasn't there. But I wonder how much she really experienced, how much she saw, how much she might have exaggerated. But it's definitely an interesting read. So if you'd like to join us for Feb Regency reading Belinda, it is actually available at Project Gutenberg for free. You can download an ebook or read it right there. It isn't listed as Belinda by Maria Edgeworth. It's actually in her called like Tales and Stories of Maria Edgeworth. There's like something like 10 volumes. Volume 3, the entire thing is just Belinda. I'll put a link for that in the description. All right. Thank you so much for joining me on my first impressions of Belinda. When I finish it, whenever that might be, it won't be this month. It'll be next month sometime. I'll finish my other conclusions about it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you love old books, please come and see me again. If you're reading Belinda, I'd love to hear what you're thinking about wherever you're at in the story. All right. See you next time.